On Tuesday, the Russian army escorted journalists in the besieged port city of Mariupol, showing them the bombed-out ruins of the theater, where hundreds are believed to have been killed. It was the Russians' latest show of force in the city, where hope has all but died out. On Wednesday, the Russian forces said that more than 1,000 Ukrainian Marines had surrendered.
In the city of Mariupol, in the area of the metallurgical plant Ilich, as a result of successful offensive operations of the Russian armed forces and units of the Donetsk People's Republic militia, 1,026 Ukrainian Marines voluntarily laid down their arms and surrendered.
The Ukrainian Defense Ministry says it has no knowledge about any surrender, and that Russian forces are continuing their attacks on Azovstal and the port area.
A blow for Russia in the Black Sea. The Moskva warship, believed to have as many as 510 crew members on board, has been badly damaged following a fire that detonated ammunition stockpiles on board, according to Moscow's defense ministry.
As a result of a fire, ammunition detonated on the Moskva missile cruiser. The ship was seriously damaged. The crew was completely evacuated.
Kyiv has given a different version of events. Ukrainian officials said Russia was struggling to rescue those on board the 12,500-ton and 186-metre-long vessel, seen here in satellite images from a few days ago. While the regional governor of Odessa, a port city on the Black Sea, said in a post online that 2 Ukrainian missiles had hit the warship.
A gruesome scene that is becoming increasingly common in Ukraine. These bodies of civilians allegedly killed by Russian troops have just been discovered. Russian forces camped near this chicken factory in Hostomel shortly after the war began. They forced local men working nearby to help carry their ammunition. Among them was Dmitro. Investigators found his body in a shallow grave. Asked to carry boxes of grenades and RPGs, he refused. Sasha was there.
He refused because he said he has bad back. They threatened to shoot him, but he refused again. He got on his knees with his head on the blocks. The commander said, "Shoot him," and the soldier loaded his rifle and shot him many times. Then they asked me, "Do you want the same?"
Like all bodies here, they must first be checked for booby traps. While Dmitro's body is packed into a plastic bag, the work to collect evidence of possible war crimes is underway.
Tonight, disturbing new video from Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine appears to show what military experts say are cluster bombs being used to attack the city and terrorize civilians. In response to Russia's onslaught in the east, the US is putting more weapons in the hands of Ukrainian fighters. An $800 million package, including long-range artillery systems, which are being sent to Ukraine for the first time, ammunition and armoured personnel carriers too. And there'll be more help in the skies, additional helicopters now going in as well.
He failed to take Kyiv, but tonight Vladimir Putin is positioning his troops for that eastern assault. Satellite images show his forces on the move, armoured vehicles and support equipment ready to attack. Putin says he wants to combat what he calls the NATO threat, but tonight that strategic goal unravelling.
We need to assess how our possible NATO membership.
Finland and Sweden, traditionally neutral, are now moving closer to membership in the alliance.
Police have arrested the suspected shooter from yesterday's Brooklyn, New York subway attack following a massive manhunt. The suspect is 62-year-old Frank R. James. Officials say the suspect put on a gas mask and set off a canister that filled a subway car with smoke before opening fire on passengers, injuring at least 23 people. 10 of them hit by gunfire at the height of New York City's rush hour yesterday.
The police were alerted through a tip to their Crime Stopper system of a possible sighting of Frank James in the East Village of New York. A short time ago this afternoon, the police responded and an arrest was made at St. Mark's and First Avenue. in that part of Manhattan. The suspect was taken to the local police precinct.
At least 28 teenagers have drowned after their boat capsized in northwestern Nigeria when they were trying to cross a river to fetch firewood on Tuesday evening. Regional government official Aliyu Dantani has said most of the dead were girls after emergency workers and volunteers retrieved their bodies from River Shagari in Sokoto State. 5 children were also reported among the dead. The boat was said to be carrying an unspecified number of passengers, and search is still ongoing, according to Dantani. The cause of the accident was not clear, but boat mishaps are common on Nigerian waterways, mostly due to overcrowding, particularly in the annual rainy season.
Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, is commending the recent wave of attacks conducted by Palestinians against Israelis. Here is what he had to say.
We must stand with all reverence and pride before the heroism of the men, youth, women, children, and elderly of occupied Palestine. What is happening there has a great implication regarding the conflict with the enemy and the future of the Israeli entity. If you are betting on the despair and frustration of the Palestinian people, if you think that the Arab betrayal will lead to the retreat of Palestinian youth, then you are delusional.
It was market day in the town of Murrah when Malian troops, backed by white mercenaries, descended in helicopters and opened fire on bewildered residents. That's according to the accounts of eyewitnesses like stall owner Amadou. He saw soldiers fan out on the morning of March 27th and ran home, but was arrested hours later and taken to a riverbank on the outskirts of town. There, he said, thousands of men were sat with their hands tied. Over the next 4 days, he and 2 other witnesses describe how the men sat in the blazing sun with little food or water and watched as soldiers took groups to the edge of a mass grave and shot them. Reuters cannot independently verify their information or visit Murrah, but the accounts bolster evidence gathered by Human Rights Watch. Last week, it alleged that Malian soldiers, assisted by suspected Russians, killed around 300 civilians in Murrah. The town of 10,000 people is under the control of a militant group linked to Al-Qaeda. Mali's army says it killed 203 insurgents there during a military operation. It denies reports of executions and has not responded to a request for comment.